You have been investing in deep tech undoubtedly before it was cool.
Well, like it didn't necessarily start as deep tech is the thing. And we all want to be part of something bigger than ourselves. And like, I want to be playing a supporting role for people who I think can change the world. We have limited time on this planet. And so, like, I hate that it took me so long to figure out that my place in the universe was to back people who can make a dent in the universe.
How do you decide to start your first fund in arguably the hardest industry to invest in?
Oh man, well, like it didn't necessarily start as deep tech is the thing. Like I studied international relations. I was always interested in like the global economy and innovation and how we move the world forward, and like combine that with reading and watching too much science fiction growing up as an only child. And like, it was just sort of obvious to me that like technology would go into the real world, and this like brief interlude where we were really indexing on information technology and two-dimensional technology, that like that was an interlude. And of course it would go to other industries. And like, I don't know if it was growing up in Florida and going to school in Tennessee, but like it was just always obvious to me that most of the economy is in the real world around us. And so when I started meeting founders who were like building three-dimensional technologies, not that they weren't leveraging software, like machine learning, whatever, was like often a piece of it, like couldn't do a lot of this without cloud computing, but that was just infrastructure that needed to get built so that you could actually go innovate in the real economy. And then, so I just started doing that. And a couple of years in, people were like, oh, you're a deep tech investor. And I was like, oh, yeah, that sounds cool. Yeah, great, I'm a deep tech investor. But like, I didn't wake up one day and I'm like, you know what, I'm going to switch from software to hardware.
It makes sense that you're interested in sci-fi and also excited by deep tech. One of your portfolio companies, Astranis, actually hired this guy early days of his career named Jason Carman.
Jason, yeah, of course.
Who recently premiered his first sci-fi film. And Astranis is arguably a real-world sci-fi company. How do you think about the sort of crossover between fictional representations of science and real-world science?
Yeah, shout out Jason. Sorry I couldn't make the premiere. It was my best friend's birthday, or else I would have been there.
You missed out. It was
awesome. I heard it was incredible. So Cantos is named after, like the Latin connotation is the stanzas of epic poetry or the chapters of an epic poem. And I think of the modern day like hero's journey as being embodied in the entrepreneurial journey. And we all want to be part of something bigger than ourselves, and like, you know, fight problems and like do important things, and like have this, hopefully we live lives that will be considered legendary one day. And like, I know that I'm not necessarily the main actor there. I want to be playing a supporting role for people who I think can change the world. And so that's the first motivation in calling the firm Cantos, is like, we are a collection of epic tales in our portfolio. And we're like, at best, maybe sometimes the author of their stories, but the double entendre is that it's also a reference to my favorite science fiction series, which is Dan Simmons' Hyperion Cantos.
Cool.
So it's, you know, it's right there in the name for those who know.
Love that. That is cool. That's smart. I like that it's like one part art in some sense and another part science, which aligns perfectly well with the idea of science and fiction.
Totally.
So that's pretty cool.
All about story and science from the beginning. Jason's the man.
Yes, absolute killer. And the fact that he was able to bootstrap a film company by shooting with real world sci-fi companies is just such a perfect like backstory to having built what he's built.
Yeah, and it's super interesting to me because like it's, you know, I obviously loved when he was doing S3 and it was doing like free promo for our portfolio companies. And like, I'm a huge science fiction fan, love story and science, psyched about what he's doing next.
So there is one thing that I hear in your accent that I don't commonly hear in Silicon Valley. What is that exactly?
So I grew up in Florida, and
Doesn't sound Florida.
People will debate whether or not that's the South. It kind of depends on where you live. But my dad was from North Carolina, and I went to school in Tennessee for 10 years.
Okay, I hear it's
So
Tennessee
it's
that I'm
definitely
hearing.
the Tennessee. Depends on how many, Jack Daniels I've had.
I had my first experience, if you will, with a girl from Tennessee, and so that accent is permanently positively imprinted in my
if you
brain.
spend enough time in the Southeast, you can kind of tell where people are from because there are variations in the accent.
I'm curious, how do you think growing up in the South impacted how you interact with arguably the exact opposite of the South right now?
Yeah, I think just like more industry being like physical. Like the people who like had money that I was going to school with, they weren't like tech people. They like, their family owned the local factory, or, they had a grocery store chain or whatever. And I think that's probably why it was always obvious to me that like technology would go three-dimensional. And like, I think I'm really fortunate that I didn't grow up around tremendous wealth. Like my dad was a Marine. My mom was a public school English teacher, both incredibly service-minded. And that was just always instilled in me from an early age. Like we kind of always had what we needed. Like, yeah, I only got to buy like one pair of tennis shoes every year. And so like now maybe I buy more shoes than I should because there's something in my youth where like I couldn't have it when I was young or whatever. But like, it's been so freeing to always feel like the important thing isn't to make money, it's to like help people and do good in the world and serve your country. And yeah, that probably led me to hard tech, deep tech.
No, I think
whatever.
what you invest in oftentimes is an expression of your value system, and it seems like you're really drawn to physical, built world stuff, very America-centric. What inspired that level of patriotism, and who do you think about as you're investing?
Yeah, I do. I mean, I consider myself a globalist in a lot of ways, in that like it's just like I'm incredibly fortunate that I was born in this country. Like, randomness, divinity, like however it gets decided where we're born. Like I won the lottery and just being born in this country. But that doesn't make me fundamentally different than someone who like was born in Nicaragua or Thailand or whatever. And so I want to help the world. It's just that the United States is this really special thing where like democracy actually worked, like free speech worked, capitalism with some light guardrails is mostly working. Not that it can't be tweaked and improved, but like that's incredible, and it puts us in a position globally. Like I love America so much in part because I take a global view. Like we are really special. And I worry a lot that we might be messing certain things up. Like this is a fragile thing that we can't take for granted, and we have to work to improve this country and set an example. Because if we mess it up, like we're the example of the free world. Like the stakes aren't just domestic; they're international. And so my love for this country and advocacy for America comes from a global perspective.